Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you, everybody. Well, this might be the first pre-trip meeting we've had pre-school actually starting. So I want to just thank everybody for taking time during what is still their last week of almost like Christmas break, oops, summer break, to spend some time with us tonight. And we are super excited that we have been able to like pull this together, and some things are still in the coming together stage, but really appreciate everybody receiving my email and responding to them and the requests for the survey participation and a few questions back and forth on such very short notice. So super grateful for that. I'm just gonna kill this so that hopefully it's not bothering you. All right, so you are joining us tonight for the pre-trip field school for the Alberta trip for PLP 9. And we have, for the first time, 2 trips that are going to be happening in the month of September. Our goal tonight is to give you a little bit of an overview of what this experience looks like, give you some information on some of the practicalities and things to that you need to know about, and give you the point of contact for questions that we have in the just a week before that first trip leaves and a few weeks before the second trip leaves. Petra is going to be keeping an eye on the chat room, so if anything does come up, I can't really see that at the moment, so feel free just to put questions in there, and as appropriate, she'll bring those to our attention. Also, especially if you're watching us on the recording and can't put things in the chat room, please don't hesitate to send your email, and we'll do our best to answer those in a timely manner, although do admit right now we're kind of still in the summer. There's a bit of a summer lag with some of that response time. So we're doing our best, as we're not actually officially back to work until next week. Also, I won't introduce them at this time, but I believe also on the call joining us tonight, we have CECOV's principal, Ms. Sarah Best. So we're grateful that she's here. And I know she didn't want to take any of your time tonight, but if she wants to at any time, Sarah, please feel free to jump in. Also, I believe, Petra, do we have Julia and Aaron here as well?
We do indeed.
Okay, great. So we have, oh, there's Sarah, so she can wave at least. And there's Erin. We just put our camera on. Students and parents have not met Ms. Madsen, aka Erin Madsen, but she is a actually old time, although she doesn't like us to old, CECO teacher who, after a brief adventure in a different part of the province, we're very grateful, has come back to join the teaching staff at CECO and will be teaching with us in PLP in September. And additionally, Ms. Caddy, Julia Caddy, is also on this call. We are very excited to have her also joining CECO staff. She will be joining PLP as well as our science and maker teacher. So, and in addition, there's another new teacher that students and parents will meet as well. So PLP this year is bigger than it's ever been, and that means we have more teachers than we've ever had before, and it's all exciting stuff. So Ms. Caddy and Ms. Madsen are on the call tonight because they are most likely will be with us on the various trips in Alberta. So without further ado, let's get into what we are here talking about tonight. I'll say from the outset that a summary of all of this information and anything we mentioned as far as links to required forms or the meal surveys and things like that, all of that will be collected in our hub, our parent hub, parentcentral.cecov.ca. So hopefully this is already bookmarked on in your browsers or on your desktop. And it's a little rough right now because we haven't really gotten it refreshed for the new school year, but the Alberta trip is up there. And later on tonight, it'll get a little bit more front and center prominence. But that is your one-stop shop. That is where we will be putting the recording link for this meeting as well. So parentcentral.cecov.ca, we want that to be the hub for anything parents might need. So please check that later on tonight. I'll pass it over to Petra for a few slides here, and she'll sort of set the tone for the instructional side, as she is sort of our lead designer for the educational component of the trip. Petra.
really excited to have the opportunity to do this as a field study again. This is a field study we have done in the past. And every time we do it, we do things a little bit differently. So this year is no different. We're really excited to be going back to Alberta. And really the focus of this field study, whether you're with us on the bus on the way to Alberta or you're studying at home, is going to be how have we been shaped by place? So our inquiry all is shaped around that. How have we been shaped by place? And of course, as we look at how we have been shaped by place, we're also looking at how we are shaping the places we're in. So those things like the cost of the environment, as well as lots of other really deep, exciting, relevant questions that face us as West Coasters today. So really happy to be working on that. And that will be the focus of our first sector, our time periods that we use in Humanities 9. We'll be accompanying that with some of work in Maker as well. And you'll be doing something a little bit different in science. So like I said, it's going to be mostly a humanities-based project. And in English, I sort of teased this earlier, apparently, when I sounded like a chipmunk, so maybe nobody understood me, but we were talking about how the focus is about questioning and how questioning what we read, hear, and view, I did that in an opposite way than it's written on the page, but that's okay, contributes to our ability to be these educated, engaged citizens, which I firmly believe is the entire point of being in school altogether. At great cost to the taxpayers. So that's where we're going to drive to with our English work. And we're going to look at how do we compel an audience to believe what we're saying? What strategies do we need to understand what's going on? What are the protocols for the language we're using to shape it? And we'll be bringing that all together in some exciting new ways. On the social studies side, we'll be looking at the physical environment and how it influences the nature of our political, social, and economic changes. So that includes things like global demographic shifts, patterns of migration, population growth, both in the past, how did we get to this place that we call BC and Alberta, the West, in those physiographic features of Canada and geological processes all the way through to today. Maybe even some pipeline conversations and other exciting environmental things. So really excited to have those opportunities to do it. I probably still sounded like a chipmunk. That was pretty fast. I'll breathe now.
Excellent. All right, you're probably curious about where we're going and what we're actually doing. That itinerary is more or less complete now, and you will be able to see it very soon. We are not holding it as a secret, but as you know, there are 2 trips, and there are some slight differences in the itinerary between the 2 trips. And that was largely due to the availability of venues. Some venues were closed on some days, open on others, or their ability to accommodate us for accommodations and things like that. So while they are almost the same, they are kind of in different order and different sequence. So very soon, I'm hoping, I don't want to promise, but I'm hoping tomorrow-ish, we'll be sort of communicating the rosters for each of the trips. So we have been pretty much able to accommodate all of your requests. So if people, I think at this point, everybody has completed the preference survey. So pretty much without exception, we have been able to accommodate everybody's request. So you kind of should already know whether you're on trip 1 or trip 2, but we will officially confirm that in a communication. And then alongside that, you will be joined to the base camp project for your trip, where you will see something similar to what you're seeing in this slide here, which is kind of a day-by-day breakdown, hour by hour, minute by minute, on where we're going, what we are doing. For parents, there will be a public link as well that can be accessed in any browser. And on Parent Central, and next week when we see you face-to-face, we will teach you students how to add this calendar through a subscription link to your calendar on your device so that you have offline access as well. And parents, you may want to add it as a subscribed calendar to whatever calendaring service you use, so you can just keep an eyes and ears on where we are and what we're doing.
And just to be super clear, Brian, can I jump in just about the 2 trips and what happens with the learning? So no matter which trip you're on, the learning itself that I just front loaded will be the same and is enhanced by the fact if you're on this call, you are coming on the field school, or you've indicated that, which is really exciting, is going to be that learning is enhanced. We call it a field school on purpose. And whether you're on the first trip or the second trip, it will enhance that learning in either case. And the students who are not coming on the trip, as which there always are some, will be doing a parallel project without the enhancement of the field school itself. So the actual learning is the same for everyone. It's just how we get it. The answer is different.
Absolutely correct. The broad sketches of the trips, though, they're pretty much identical. We're going to same places. The duration is the same. The costs and budget are the same. The experiences are different, but equal. Okay, that's kind of like how we're sort of positioning it. Either trip is going to actually be a fantastic experience. All right, let's just run through some of the specifics that you may be wondering about. This is a road trip, in case that wasn't clear. So transportation is going to be by Seacove bus. And unfortunately, because of reasons, worldwide pandemic, we did not have our usual grade 8 experience of the inaugural road trip experience. So this will be your first time traveling with us on the Seacove bus. Normally for grade 9, when we go to Alberta, you kind of already have those fond memories of bus travel. Our bus, if you did not know, for parents may not know, Seacove is very lucky as a school that many years ago, the PAC fundraised and purchased a bus, and it's a pretty nice, comfortable bus for traveling. The only caveat is that it was not really meant to be like a long haul overnight travel bus. So it does not have what you'd expect on like a highway coach with like ample under the bus seat or luggage compartments. In fact, there are no luggage compartments. So we have been to Oregon for 10 days. We've been to Alberta 10 days many times before. So we know it can be done, but space is limited. So I say this now and I'll repeat it later because already in your head, you need to be envisioning sitting in a bus seat with yourself and your body and all of your belongings with you under your seat or at your feet. There are no overhead racks. There is no under the bus storage. So keep that in mind because we're going to revisit that a little bit later. It can be done and it's actually not as bad as it sounds. So that's our transportation.
Bus, Brian, just
Sorry,
to point out to those of you who have not seen the bus or not had the accommodation, this is a real help that Brian himself will be the bus driver. He is the licensed driver among us, which is awesome. He's done that. He's done this trip several times. He's done the Oregon trip. He is a great driver. We're very lucky he's volunteering his time to do that, not once, but not twice, which is a cost savings rather than having to hire a private bus. So that's why we ultimately went with doing the trip twice as well. Luckily, the toll on Brian's psyche is a benefit to all our wallets. Right, Brian?
That is education in a nutshell, I think. The career of education in a nutshell right there. All right, so for accommodations, each trip, it's a little bit different, as I sort of said, but same, but different. We have 4 different overnight locations. So we kind of have a way stop on the going and the coming to and from Alberta. And then we have several nights or 2 nights in Banff and then a few nights in Calgary, which is our home base. And on the second trip, it looks similar, but a little bit different. The Three Valley Gap is swapped in sequence, and an overnight in Revelstoke instead of Golden. But pretty much the same broad outlines. So this is the first time that we'll be staying in a hotel with these students, which is always a little bit of a great experience. And that's really only 1 night, or 2 nights rather. The rest of the time we are staying in a hostel, but it's actually, and we've stayed at the Banff hostel many times, the Lake Louise hostel many times. It's pretty posh. I would actually say it's hotel-esque. In its comfort and appointments. Great facilities that work super well for us. We have some ability there to do our own catering, breakfast, things like that. So it works out super great for us. Great question coming up. Do we need sleeping bags? No, like I said, this is like posh level of hosteling. Linens, towels are provided and are changed between guests and things like that. So really you do not need that, which is nice because getting back to the packing and everything under your seat, for Oregon, you do need to bring sleeping bag, bedding, and pillows. And so now you will not have to do that. So now you even have ample room on the bus. So we will provide specific details and contact information for all these locations closer to the departure date.
And just in case you were concerned, unlike trains in Vietnam, you will not be sleeping with strangers. Seacove students will only sleep with Seacove students. Seacove teachers will only sleep with Seacove teachers. That's, so it will not be like hosteling, like you might be assigned random strangers.
And in case you thought that was just a random geographic reference, I think that's Ms. Willems reliving past trauma from the PLP 12 Vietnam Field School.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Strangers on a train.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Yes, Luca, that is the order of the sequence of the locations. You are correct. Okay, whoa, it's jumping all over the place. Okay, meals. Just like your favorite trip to a Caribbean resort, PLP field schools are all inclusive. So that the price does seem high maybe at first, but it is inclusive of every expense. So we always say students could come with $0 in their pocket and be absolutely fine. That includes all 3 of their meals and snacks and all the food that they would need to sustain themselves very comfortably. For practicality, we do usually take your orders in advance. This gives the various restaurants and places we are eating a fighting chance to serve us. So soon-ish, starting tomorrow, in base camp, once you guys are added to that and see that, you will see these meal surveys pop up, menu surveys. Usually you will have a nice selection of options. Something for everybody that should crowd please will be available, and you'll make your selection for every restaurant and meal that we have. So we do ask your cooperation that as soon as you see those appear, that you kind of get on your like networks with all your group chats and make sure all your friends know, hey, have you done your menu surveys? Because we need to provide, especially for that first trip, we need to provide some of the restaurants, they're waiting for your choices already. So we have a very short turnaround on that. We will do our absolute best and can pretty much, having gotten to know you a little bit at Loon Lake last year, we know that some of you do have dietary requirements and restrictions. We can accommodate those, but please inform us in advance. So if anybody has, well, actually everybody, including those we previously knew about, will want you to refresh our memory of. There will be a survey that will go out that will ask you to just let us know what we need to know, and so that we can make sure that everybody gets all the meals prepared the way they need them to be prepared. As usual, we ask you, please do not plan to bring snacks. We understand that there sometimes are some mitigating reasons why people might need to bring their own food, and that's totally fine if we have prior arrangement with us. So just at the end, we'll be talking about who you can reach out to. Just let us know, but please don't pack like a day pack full of candy, chips, popcorn, pepperoni, like anything, right? Like we really need to know about that. I assure you, you will be well and adequately fed. All right, anything else to add, Petra?
Just that the only money you'd need is for souvenirs, and that would be small. And yeah, we will not be allowing students to buy lots of sugar or snacks or pop, like Mr. Hughes said. So it will not be a high cost of pocket money.
Yeah. So on the what to bring, I'll skip to the very bottom there on the slide. A small amount of spending money for souvenirs is a great idea. One of the things we will kind of be looking at as part of our inquiry is how have these places been commodified, or that's a fancy word for packaged for sale. And the tourism industry is going to be huge in a lot of the places that we visit. So what that means, of course, is there's lots of opportunities to buy souvenirs and things. So you may want to think about breaking the piggy bank open and bringing some money along to buy a t-shirt or a sticker for your water bottle or whatever that you like. A small amount of money is great. We are going to some very nice and interesting and unique gift shops, so that is a great idea. We will discourage you or prevent you from using your money to buy pop candy, things like that, except for one notable exception. There will be a candy buying opportunity where you can go crazy, but we'll talk about that at the time. So small amount of spending money is great. For parents, a small amount is a small amount. We have had students before bring $500 in cash for their spending money. I will just say, I'm not going to say how much or how little. That's really up to you to decide, but that's probably too much. What you definitely need to have, iPad, charger, right? This is not a holiday. This is a working field school. We'll come back to that later. And you guys know that your iPad is your working tool. So you will absolutely need that. We're going to some of the most photographic, scenic places on this planet. So if you are a photographer or if you have a camera, consider bringing it, but also consider if it's something that is expensive, big, bulky, and valuable, some of the considerations I'm going to say in a minute about like having a valuable with you and whether that's something you trust yourself to have or whether you're worried about it being lost or damaged, right? So you already maybe in grade 9 should know yourself, and your parents definitely know you. You can have that conversation. We will not be giving you a specific line-by-line packing list telling you like how many pairs of underwear to bring, right? I think by now you can figure that out. I recommend a clean pair per day, right? However, we won't be doing that. But what we will be specifically telling you and reminding you, you need to bring clothing for the climate. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. We will be going to elevation at lots of times where it is cold, much colder than it is here now. We're going into the mountains, and frankly, even Calgary itself, temperatures can like vary and swing wildly. So because we're going at a kind of that transition time between summer and winter, you should be, a pair of shorts, one would be fine, right? But pants, yes. Closed-toed shoes, we're going to talk about that more specifically in a second. Jackets, you will need these things. Don't just assume because it's really hot today that it's going to be this same weather. Speaking of clothing and then footwear, we will be doing some active hiking. So you do need sturdy footwear suitable for hiking on trails. At minimum, we're talking about closed-toed, closed-heel shoes. Crocs, sandals, flip-flops obviously are not those things. Really thin, flexible running shoes are not ideal, especially your designer ones that you don't want to get dirty or creased. Absolutely not, right? We are not going mountaineering with a 50-pound pack. So you do not require like technical hiking boots, but a really good rugged trail runner or a light hiking shoe would be advisable. Okay, we do have a lot of time on this trip where we're going to spend outside exploring. It is honestly, I know many of you have been to this part of the world. Those of you who are not are in for a treat. It's spectacular, and we want to get out there and see it. So we need to make sure we have that. Bathing suits. There's at least one extremely memorable swimming experience on this trip in a swimming pool, unlike any you've ever been to in your life. So if you would like to swim in the pool, make sure you bring your swimming suit. We, on one of the trips, unfortunately right now not on both, but on one of the trips, we also will be visiting Banff Hot Springs. So that's also another swimming opportunity. So pack a bathing suit as well. Okay. Pause there just for a second to see if we have any other questions that I've missed. Petra, or comments?
Yeah, I just want to reinforce, it is a very full itinerary. So to be clear, like every day you're busy from 7 a.m. and I said until late. I said till like 10. Some days are a little earlier. Who knows? Some days might be a little later. It's busy. The downtime for you guys is when you're on the bus. You get to have a nap. Mr. Hughes does not. So that's your moment to have a decompression time. So when you see that on the bus, that's when that is. You will 100% want to use that time as your downtime, and we make sure it's there for that purpose. There was something else I was going to say. It's going to come back to me. Oh yeah, just to reiterate, no one has the itinerary yet because we will assign you to the group you're in by the end of the week. Once you're assigned to that group, then we will add you to the base camp with your itinerary. And then I also went to get a prop. Is now a good time to show my prop?
Sure.
This would be about the right bag size, people. So you can see it's a nice like athletic bag. I was like, oh, it's good I did this at home because I got it. It's about that size, about as wide as my shoulders, and it folds up. That's about the size you want. Nothing with wheels, nothing with hard sides. This fits neatly under my seat, and then I would put my iPad and that in a day pack that I would have on my lap or at my feet as well, so that I'm not stepping on it. I know some of you for Loon Lake packed a lot. So less is more, right? Reuse. No, this is not a fashion show. Most of the time you'll be wearing your fleece. So nobody's looking at how many different shirts you bring or wonderful skirts. So really, really like tight and the whole time. And no, we will not have laundry throughout the trip. So you will need 8 pairs of underwear though, please.
All right, so a quick list of what we'd suggest or require that you do not bring. Right there at the top, large suitcase. I can't emphasize that enough. You guys probably have some remembrance of going onto the bus and loading your stuff because we did use the bus to convey your luggage last time, and you got a feel for what that space is like. Remember, this time it's going to be you plus all your stuff on the bus. So large suitcases will make it really awkward. If you fill up your entire footwell with your hard-sided bag, then that means very uncomfortable for you doing the lotus position for the whole trip. So as Petra points out, like a soft-sided bag, gym bag is good. Hockey bag, too big, right? Too big, right? Okay. Anything you can't bear to lose or have damaged. We have actually a very good success rate with coming back unscathed in this regard, but it's always possible. So don't bring, your family heirloom or something that if for some reason it were to get lost or damaged would be too distressing. We already mentioned food and candy, but reiterating that here. But please don't bring laptops, gaming devices, anything other than your iPad. Okay. A, we don't want things being lost, damaged. B, you will not have like a television or a screen in your hotel rooms. And C, you will not have time. So just do not do that. Also, we would ask you not to bring Bluetooth speakers. If you wish to have your own audio on the bus, you can bring headphones for the bus, but we would not ask you to have, you will not be allowed to have external audio on the bus. And in your hotel room, again, that will be your time for decompressing and sleeping. So please do go.
Same list for Loon Lake, and I know a few of you think you snuck some things by us. I know if you brought it. And I will know it this time too, and this time is far more serious because we will be with a lot of other people. So we really have to respect that more. Loon Lake, it was just us. But this time we're with real people, humans. So we have to think about that. So we'll be quite strenuous. If we see a Bluetooth speaker, it'll go away for the rest of the time. So just don't bring it. It doesn't need to be there. Yes, you can bring your phones, and Mr. Hughes will just talk about phones and contacting in a minute as well.
Okay, just to hammer home the point about the weather, I did pull up the 14-day trend for Banff, and that first trip is within view here. You can see the nighttime low is low, and so if we are out, in the evening, in the late evening, it's chilly. And it feels cold to us, especially because it's been so hot recently here. So you can see, having a nice fleece to pull on jacket, great idea. Even those daytime highs there, you can see Thursday the 8th, which is the day before we leave, daytime high is 13 degrees. So it can be chilly and cold. I would highly recommend that you have, even though we've said pack light, that you have things in your bag to handle all possibilities. So a hat, a toque, a hat is a great idea. Gloves. Remember Loon Lake? We didn't think we needed gloves then, and the people who had gloves were extremely grateful, right? It was cold. So make sure that you are throwing in those things. Yeah, you do not need rain boots this time. If it's
not going to exaggerate in any way. This is why we do this trip so early, and it's so insane. We're doing that like the first week of school. Is that one time we did do this trip, and it really did snow. It snowed in Calgary, not even in the mountains. So it can get quite chilly. So you want to have layers.
Also, it can be a big difference in temperature from the valley to the top of the mountain, and we will be going to the top of the mountains. So have those options. Petra mentioned before a day pack, great idea, right? You're gonna have your big bag with all your stuff in it, and then a day pack that you can keep your iPad in, that you can keep a jacket, hat, gloves in, sunglasses, whatever you need to like be comfortable and practical. Okay. On the communication side, just to go over some of our standard things here. For parents, don't hesitate to contact us. Does not have to be an emergency. We welcome that you reach out if you need to talk to your child or you want to make a connection or something has happened at home that you want us to be aware of, or possibly that you've heard from your child and you think something has happened that we might not be aware of that you would like us to be aware of. Don't hesitate at any time to reach out. We may not be able to answer. Obviously, when I'm driving, I will not be answering. So leave a message. We both have voicemail on the phone. You can also text or email. We'll have our phones charged and with service the whole time. However, at certain places, we could be outside of range or outside of cell coverage. So I just make that as a caveat. Don't be alarmed if you call and say, please call me back, and maybe we don't call back for a few hours, who knows. But we will endeavor to stay on top of that. One of us is always available. So please don't hesitate to use that. With students, though, we sort of would ask you and encourage you to take a bit of a different posture. So to that question, absolutely, you can bring your cell phone, no problem at all. We're in Canada, so there's not a roaming problem, which is good, but it's also kind of not good because what the phone tends to become is a tether to home. And one of the reasons why we believe so strongly in field schools and travel is because it is through that distance from home that different kinds of learning can happen. So a few things that we would request. Parents, if your child is coming with a phone, absolutely no problem, but please do not create expectations that you will contact each other at arranged times. So please do not have a plan saying, hey, I expect you to call or text me every day at 6 p.m. And that is because they literally might not be able to if we're out of service or we're busy or we're doing an activity. Or more to the point, often the student is just busy and engaged and forgets, and then the parent like worries because they didn't make contact, things like that. So in general, no news is good news. So we would ask you, think about that. Don't create expectations for arranged times. Also, students during the day are working. They are learning. They are busy. We would really request that you provide the space for them to have that experience that is at a distance from home. So even sometimes like a totally well-meaning, loving, hey, how's your day going? How's things so far? Message. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm not saying you cannot do that. But what it does is it pulls the student out of the moment and into maybe a connection back home. So what we would really encourage is, again, a no news is good news posture. And we will encourage students to make contact every evening. So they will have reliable Wi-Fi every night in our accommodations. And they will have time at the end of the day where they absolutely can message, they can FaceTime, and we actually do keep like a checklist where we will nag students to at least twice during these 8 days make a voice or FaceTime call. So we usually have parents and students that are at the two ends of the spectrum, the ones that like are in constant connection and like, you know, the entire trip, every minute of the day, or the ones that like we come home and the parents are like, well, I never heard from them once. I assumed they weren't dead, right? So we will check in and
we will encourage a balance. We will encourage a balance of that, is what Brian is emphasizing as well.
All right, if you aren't already, we would encourage you to follow us on Instagram. This is where we will be sort of doing our daily updates from the road. If you are Facebook phobic, I don't blame you. You do not need to create an Instagram account. You can just go to instagram.com/plpccode and you can see the still photos there without having an account. However, if you do have an Instagram account and you follow us, you will also then see the story. And if you are Instagram aware, that's additional content, more jazzy stuff that we have posting in both places. So we will try and post regularly throughout the day on the activities that we're doing, the learning that's happening, the experiences that we're having. And that's a great place to sort of follow along vicariously on the trip. Okay, we're winding down to some of the last minute practicalities. Paperwork, there is an informed consent form. In the original email, I did send both versions of it. There is a version for each set of dates. And of course, you did not know which one to complete. I just sent that for your review so you could see the detail of the trip. Starting tomorrow, once we are able to like cohort the group into the 2 trips, you will know exactly which informed consent applies to your child, and we would ask you to sign that and return it next week. So even it could even come back that very first day of school on Tuesday. They can just drop it off with any of the PLP teachers or me in the library. And we would ask a quick, especially for trip 1, a quick turnaround for this because we have lots of little things we're working on, so please don't make us chase you. In addition, there is a medical form that needs to be completed before every trip. So same one that you completed for Loon Lake, but it needs to be completed afresh for every trip. So that will be posted as well on the Alberta Field School page on Parent Central, and will be in the email that follows up this as well. All right, I see a few people asking about payment. Thank you very much to those that like endeavored to follow my instruction and make payment by Monday. Because we kind of pushed the limits on what everyone else is doing right now, we helped discover that there was a school district level bug with School Cash Online that apparently has been resolved today. So that is all good. And today, you should see it and receive a notification from the system starting tomorrow with a request to make payment. So that will go out tomorrow or appear at some point tomorrow in School Cash Online, and you should receive an automated message from the system. Just a note in the paperwork, if the people who are reading carefully notice that there is a difference between the trip cost and the trip amount or the amount charged. And it's the school policy that there is a 10% of the trip cost contingency fund that is added to the cost and collected, unused portions of which are refunded after the trip. And we don't anticipate necessarily needing to draw on this. So we would, I should rephrase, we would anticipate being able to return unused amounts after the trip, just like we did with Loon Lake. So after the accounting and the budgeting is completed, any unused funds are returned to parents. So that's why there is a difference between the actual cost and what is charged. All right, the learner, I already mentioned the menu surveys. So in Basecamp, you will see those popping up as early as tomorrow. We would ask all the students to get on those as soon as possible. Students will also complete the PLP Field School Code of Conduct that you also did as part of your Loon Lake getaway, and the Student Awareness of Risk and Responsibility form. We will do those together at school next week. So don't worry about those in advance. We will do that next week. And I already showed you that slide, so that's a repeat. My apologies. All right, a few other safety protocols. There are some things that just don't fit in any of the other forms and boxes and things like that. So dietary restrictions, already asked that if you have allergies or religious prohibitions or dietary requirements, that we know about those, please. So we would ask that you disclose those, and we will make sure we can accommodate all of those. We also ask that medication that students are taking be with them on the trip be disclosed. There is not a place on the medical form by default for this to be disclosed. So we would ask that you be in touch with Petra. She's going to be the point person to collect this information. If your child is bringing with them prescription or even over-the-counter non-prescription medication, we would ask that we just have awareness of it. And that's just so if they like are unusually groggy one morning, we know it's not like too much gravel or something like that. Yeah, it's just an example. So that is useful information for us, or possibly any other need to knows. And this could run the gamut. We already know if it's somebody's birthday, and I actually don't think it is anybody's birthday while we're away. Things like that we want to make something extra special, or anything, who knows? Could be anything that we would want to know about your child. Please feel free to be in touch with us in advance so that we can have awareness and know about that. Okay.
Just to reiterate, for dietary restrictions, please be specific. We had a couple of issues last trip or in Loon Lake where people didn't say they were a vegetarian. If you're a vegetarian and you don't eat meat, you need to tell us. If you don't eat red meat, but you eat shellfish on Tuesdays when there's a full moon, that's something you should tell us. If there is something that's a preference, you can let me know, but it might be more situational. So I just encourage all the learners, like if we're at a hot dog place and you don't eat hot dogs if they have relish on it, just make sure you tell us, because we'd rather you eat than starve. So that's the kind of situation where the code of conduct and why we discuss these things in advance. So we will do a menu selection, and if there's some kind of issue, let us know. Medication, like Brian said, really serious about this. Some people, again, as always, when it came to Loon Lake, didn't let me know. So if you have anything that involves something you would buy over the counter or prescription, please just tell me. I will not tell anyone else. It is not public information. It's just so I know if something happened, what you have on you or what you might have taken. And then if you take it, you would let me know. Like, hey, Ms. Willems, I'm going to take a Tylenol because I have a headache. I'm not going to say no. I just need to know that. So if something happens later on, we know you took a Tylenol. So it's really important, if you have any type of medication, let me know. And the same with the need to know. So if there's some kind of need to know, just let us know. Even if you think it might just be something, not really, just, err on the side of caution and let me know. Yeah, that's just a reiteration of everything Brian said.
Petra, you can keep going with the next few slides.
Oh, awesome. Behavior, when it comes to school expectations, this is the first time we have taken you out on the road. It's a pretty big deal. So we'll be hammering that code of conduct a little bit in class, but you are representing Seacoast. All of these places, like Mr. Hughes said, are places we've been before. So either it's places we've been with students, or some of them are new. We always add a few new things. And in order to have a repeat situation, we need to know that you are behaving like on your best possible, I'm at grandma's house with doilies, China kind of behavior. It really means that you are on representing Sea Cove in the best possible way so that people know who we are. We will be pulling up in a giant bus that says Sea Cove Community School. And this has happened before. When we go to some of these small towns, people literally Google the school and know we're in town. And we get like people coming by to say hello. It's a thing. So we want to represent that school as best as we possibly can. My best example of this is when we go to Oregon, not even kidding, people, the Thai restaurant we go to buys welcome back balloons and has a banner because they're so excited to see us again. That's the level of expectation we have on these trips, that when we come back, people are happy to see us. All our school and school district policies and procedures apply. If there is a non-compliance situation, disciplinary action will be brought about depending on the severity of the situation, and that's where the principal gets involved and we have some serious conversations. Our expectations in terms of PLP is that we are a learning team. So I love the people asking, am I going to sleep? Am I going to sleep in a room with different people? Yes, we are a team. We're going to work together. So while half of you are on the trip, half of you are still at home, right? And then vice versa. So we're mixing it up all the time. That is our learning team, our learning community. We worked really hard last year to make that happen for you as a learning community. We want to continue that this year. This, as you can tell, this is Mr. Hughes, Ms. Caddy, Ms. Madsen, myself, even Ms. Best right now are volunteering our time, like even for this meeting. And this field study will be even more volunteering our time. And so we build that, we do that because we build it on our trust of you and our respect of you, because we're so excited to learn with you. And sometimes things happen for a reason, and you guys were great with this at Loon Lake. Like sometimes flexibility is a tortoise trait, which we'll explain on the trip if you're lucky. They aren't always clear in the moment. You have to go with the flow and things happen. And we make it happen as best we can in the best situation we possibly can. And you guys have been great with that, so I just want to see that continue. And then last, field schools are school. We are there to learn. Brian says, if you are awake, you are at school. It's true. It's like Seco comes with us. Remember, the bubble of that school has switched all the way to Vietnam and back. It grows and it flexes. So even as we go to Alberta, that umbrella of Seco goes with us. And all of that PLP, Field School Code of Conduct, goes with us to be upheld while you're outside of your parents' custody, because we are your parents during that time period. Not really, but we are your guardians. And so those norms of behavior, those class norms that you developed last year that will update this year, go with us as well. Super exciting to really be learning with you on the fly again. We're really, really excited.
All right, well, that is the end of our formal program. So thank you so much. That's a lot of information. Like I said, we will summarize it for everybody. Just prior to departure, you will get what we call the pre-trip detail email, which will give you in an email everything a parent would need to know: emergency contact information, links to the itinerary, summary of all of our accommodation addresses and phone numbers, how to follow on Instagram, all the things that you would want to know. That will come out in the days prior to departure. Please, because we do have that short window now between today and we're literally just over a week away from departing for that first trip. So any questions that you have, please don't hesitate to pepper them this way, and we will try and answer you quickly. Also, keep an eye on emails sent from us, because we may need quick turnaround on pieces of information, or most time pressing right now will be those menu surveys and things like that. So students, once you're added to Basecamp, please watch Basecamp for those notifications. And as always, we send all email to both parent and student, so everybody gets the same communication. If parents see an email that maybe it would be something the kids need to be aware of, please ask them if they've looked at it and responded, and maybe even vice versa, so we all can stay in the loop. All right, I am going to just stop talking for a second and see if we have any questions that maybe are in the chat room, or if anyone wanted to raise their virtual hand, we could also take a few questions there. And I'll do that now, and then I'll also pause, and people might feel more comfortable talking or asking after the recording is stopped. So we'll see if anyone would like to be recorded, and then I will also end the recording.
Well, you guys are welcome. We're really excited. We're really excited about our new learning team, our new teachers who are coming on board. You guys will get to meet them day one. And we're really excited about this opportunity. And the grade 9s are obviously, well, hopefully, obviously, you're going to be the first. So you're going to make all the 8s, 10s, 11s, and 12s jealous. So for the purpose of recording, Brian, maybe we should just reiterate that you will be summarizing this in an information email. The recording will be summarized, and please make sure you're watching that. And learners, if you have any questions, you can shoot it in a chat to us as well. The forms to be filled out were sent with the original invite email, I believe, Brian, and they're also in Parent Central, so you can get them. I know that you kind of have to wait for the informed consent. You need to wait to know if you're on trip 1 or trip 2. So we should know that within the next couple of days and be able to confirm that. But if you did have an expectation that you were on trip 1 or trip 2, where Brian, you're confirming that's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The school cash online should be up and running now.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
And yeah, by tomorrow. And the forms do need to be printed out, the last page where you sign. The camera on the packing list does not need to be in addition to their iPad unless they want to. Sometimes we have students who want to bring a separate camera, but no, your iPad is more than enough. And if there's a situation where it's safer to leave the iPad on the bus, we've found in the past that kids have enough phones that they can take pictures for each other. In the snow in the past, we've not had that situation, and rarely is it closed, and the bus does have snow tires and safety. It's a really heavy duty bus, and we checked into that the last trip I think we went, and it is rated okay for that, but it's not, the snow would be blowing, it's not going to stick in that amount of time.
We don't anticipate that. The weather does not look like that's the case. But just like along with all the category of safety considerations, these are the things that all we do review closer to departure in the final sign off and approval process. And if it looked like there was any possibility of circumstances that would make anything unsafe, including weather, we would either reassess plans or of course cancel if necessary. So that is part of our, oh wow, 5 minutes left. That is part of our final process. Question about contingency for COVID positives. So the situation, just like in the culture generally, is evolving around this. The school district is sort of reverted to, I don't want to say pre-COVID, but I'd say normal health and or pre-existing, or I guess regular, this is the new normal, health and safety procedures and policies. So of course, just like in the good old days before COVID, if a student is symptomatic or sick with any illness prior to departure, we would assume that they would do a self-assessment of their condition. And if they are sick and unable to come, or they are potentially sick and contagious in any way, we would ask them, of course, to exclude themselves and not come. We will be continuing to do self-checks every day on everybody's health and condition, but even the rules and policies and procedures that we followed just a year ago during Loon Lake times have evolved and are different now. So we are talking about that. We would anticipate that everybody comes and attempts to come healthy, and does the things that we ask during the trip to stay healthy, which includes sleep, and plenty of sleep, and good healthy eating, which they will have options to do. So we are going to be keeping a close eye on that and reacting as necessary.
And we'll talk about masks as well. If someone did feel ill in any way with a cold, that is one benefit of COVID. It has made masks very socially acceptable, even if you have a runny nose. Yeah, if you've been watching the news, there's been interesting news out of Ontario. I don't know if you saw that, Brian. They've even dropped the isolation. So things are evolving, and they'll have to get some things in place for the fall as well. So the good news is all your teachers saved their COVID illness to have during the summer. So we did not. So both Brian and I saved it for our summertime pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to thank people for watching this if you've watched the recording through to the end, and we'll stop the recording right now.